And we are live. Good evening, everybody. Tonight, I have such a wonderful treat and gift. Medium Betsy Palmer is with us for some mediumship skills building, and with time allowing, because we'll be on for about an hour. So her time is very valuable, and that's why I appreciate you taking the time, Betsy, to come to my channel. People may not know, but Betsy's in Hawaii, so it's afternoon over there for her. And so, yes, um, if there's time after, we'll open up to the chat for readings. But we do ask that everybody please wait until you're prompted. Well, I should probably pull my banner up, Betsy, shouldn't I?
Yeah.
That we created. There we go.
And
And
aloha, everybody. Aloha.
yes,
Such a pleasure
aloha.
to be here with you.
Yes, and for people who may not know who you are, because I have a lot of new subscribers the last few months, would you like to I'll just give you the floor and let you share what it is that you would like to share and get things started. And as people come in, then we'll start saying hi.
Hi. Okay, cool. Thank you. Yep. Oh, look, and there's Gerald. Hi, Gerald.
Yeah,
Um, I am
Chris.
Betsy Palmer, medium Betsy Palmer. And yes, I do live on Maui. I'm very fortunate. And yes, I have been a medium my whole life. Um, but actually doing public work for about 10 years now. Most of the time it was not consistent and just for private, for friends and family. And not even so much doing readings, just sharing psychic downloads that I was getting for folks. But anyway, as time went by, I moved closer and closer to doing work in public. So here I am. Um, Absolutely love sharing messages from spirit guides and our loved ones. And I really enjoy helping people develop their own intuitive skills to give the best of anything I may have to offer, because I felt like it took me so long to come to do readings publicly because I didn't have a mentor. I didn't have a tribe or a group to follow. I was just getting things piecemeal through across the decades from books and movies and television and whatever encounters I might have random out in public, whatever. But I never had a clear path to developing my understanding about this. So that's one of my greatest passions, is to help people with their own intuitive development.
I was muted because I was typing, and sometimes you can hear that typing, and I didn't want to be
Okay.
rude and have everybody hear that. So, Amanda is here, Tropical Empress and Spirit. She's new to our community, Betsy.
Yeah,
Absolutely beautiful.
nice
Hmm.
to see you again. She was on Gerald's chat this morning.
Yes, and she had her first live a couple of nights ago. And here is Ange. Hello, Ange, my dear. Welcome, welcome. Dina Shaw Woman is here. And Teresa Hadarian. I went through and said hello, but we're going to do that again. Hello, Stashman. He is here. Christina Colley, good morning from Australia. Or is it
Oh, wow.
afternoon now with you? Yes. Um, Ramon Moon Scarab is here, and I will be doing an insomnia tarot tonight, a little bit later, with him and Sherry H. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And Kwani Love, you're new to my chat. Hello and welcome. It's good to see you. And I think I caught up with, oh, and there's Sylvia, Colorful Foresight. And alrighty, so mediumship building. Everyone grab your paper, your pens, and take notes. And also, really quick, Betsy does have a book. She did send me the link, and after the show, I will go and enter it into the description box so that you can, if you're interested, you can purchase it. You said it was about $25. It's like a little
No,
workbook.
no, no, no. It's 25 pages.
Oh, 25 pages. Those are
Yeah,
chapters?
it's it it's it's a
Yeah,
syllabus for a workshop. So it's
it's a
really
syllabus.
just a few
Oops.
exercises. I wrote a
Yes.
little one-page blurb to introduce why I included this, my process through it and what I hope it can offer to you. And so it's just a series of exercises that are kind of foundation work, really, to understand yourself. So I think it's $10. I think it's $10. Yeah.
Yes. I
And it's
had,
only an ebook.
yes.
Sorry guys, if you like the hard copy, sorry, it's only an ebook.
Okay.
And it's really just up there for people who are trying to find a resource for
Yes,
their
thank you, Gerald. Please do so. That would be awesome. Thank you. And then after the show, I'll go make sure I'll go in and I'll insert it into the description box.
Thanks,
So
Gerald.
yes.
Yes.
All righty. Mediumship skills. What would you like to start with first?
So this is like in general with developing intuitive gifts. I think the number one thing is to really understand yourself. That I know for myself, for a very long time, I thought the psychic realm existed up there apart from me. And occasionally I got lucky enough to receive some kind of information that would come in. But I didn't have any understanding of when it would happen, what would be happening, and why it was important. And it wasn't until I began to really get in touch with how the value of grounding and developing a personal relationship with Mother Earth for me that enabled my abilities to strengthen. Because I know most people, we think the psychic gift is up there and out there,
Mm-hmm.
in which I believe it is the collective consciousness. I believe that is what we are tapping into. But the skills and the abilities from that reside within us. We tap into the collective consciousness through our own skill and ability, and that resides within us. And where is that intuition? Follow your gut, people, right? It's follow your
Mm-hmm.
gut instincts, follow your
Yep.
gut intuition. Everybody will tell you that. And I'm even putting my hands on my stomach right now when I do that. So to me, grounding myself to the earth and asking the earth to wrap her energy all around me enabled me to understand the strength of my own energy better. I kind of feel like that is the first thing, is getting grounded and
Grounded. Mm-hmm.
centered. I also then, after I ground to Mother Earth, I follow up with Father Sky, grounding to Mother Earth, and then get myself centered through Father Sky, and then set my boundaries and through a clearing prayer. So I believe, because then I've turned my focus inward and I'm paying attention to my own energy and what that feels like. For me, that is the first step, because then I am in the driver's seat of saying, I am prepared to receive a message if it is appropriate.
Appropriate. I like that. If appropriate.
Yeah. From that point, then I believe the next step in understanding, and I call this understanding your baseline, about how you normally resonate energetically. And once I began to become more familiar with that, hang on, it just flew right out of my head.
I
Wow.
have those moments.
Yeah.
More than I like to admit.
So that's a good point to stop and say, do you have any questions about that?
Now, baseline, some people may not know what you mean. I know what that means. I didn't know if you want to go ahead and explain. That's basically what your energy, what you're able to sense, so that when you understand what your natural energy feels, what you feel when you're grounded and you're centered, so that when other energies come into your field and you start to feel off a bit, then you know that that's not necessarily your energy, that's coming from somewhere. Is that kind of like in a nutshell how you would explain?
Very well explained. Because especially people that have concerns about inviting in unwanted presences, if you don't understand your own, how you resonate and what that feels like in the best of circumstances, how do you know what it is you're feeling and what it is that you're inviting in? Understand yourself the best. And so then the next step is figuring out um, which or how many clairs are present for you and what is your strong suits. I mean, do you visualize? Is it auditory? Is it sensory? Is it just knowing? Is it precognitive? How do you receive the information?
Mm-hmm.
And how you feel and experience energy.
Energy. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so then deciphering the ability that you have that is the strongest to receive information, and getting as much information as you can about that, figuring out what works for you, what do you like, what don't you like, what do you want to lean into, what do you want to put aside for now, and the thing, whatever it is that you would hope to develop going forward.
Yeah.
Hi.
This lady here taught me about baseline. I did a Zoom group one day, and we were paired together. That's Jay. She's Jay. Oh, Jay. What? See, even I can't talk tonight. Majestic Tarot, but this is Jay. And when we were doing a breakout, she's like, "What's your baseline?" And I'm like, "What's a baseline?" So she was the first one I learned about baseline from. So she taught me well. I got it right, Jay. I was able to give a pretty good. So
Yeah, it's a very good description.
yeah.
So what I make sure and tell everyone who is interested in developing their intuitive skills, channeling, mediumship, whatever, what have you, I say the same thing all the time. This is a volunteer position. Your guides are always thrilled that you have an interest in communicating with them, but you get to write the contract. You get to tell your team what you want to do, why you want to do it, what you are willing to participate in and not. And I think you can be as specific as dates of the week and the times and the duration. And you tell them when you're available. I know a lot of people say they don't enjoy being woken up at 2 or 3 in the morning with downloads and information. They have to get up and take dictation and la la la. So yeah, hello. So yeah, you get to write the contract. The woman that dictated A Course in Miracles, I know she was felt very pressed upon that her life was not her own because of the demands of taking dictation for the materials. And she was exhausted a lot. She was struggling at work in a work relationship, and she did not enjoy the process in the least. So if you're not enjoying it, let's work with
Learn
us.
from her. Yeah.
Communicate with your team and set some boundaries.
Kind of like a contract, so to speak. Like, I want you to work with me, and like with anything, you set boundaries. Like, I need to sleep, and I don't want to be disturbed between this time to this time, and but then again, it depends too on your ability. Some people, the best time to get messages is through dreams or sleeping. So it's like you said, know your baseline, know yourself.
If that's your strong suit, if you work in dream time, write that into the contract. Don't bother me while I'm cooking dinner or loading the dishwasher. Don't bother me at the grocery store. Come to me during my dream. I have my paper and pencil beside the bed. Let's work together. I do call it a contract, and I do recommend people write it and be specific in your language.
Nice. For me, I know within the last, well, a lot of people know that I grew up in a house that was, I was tormented as a child by an evil spirit in my house that we couldn't get rid of. And so for me, my experiences with connection with spirit at a very young age was very negative. So as I got older, whenever I would sense or feel any other, type of energy, my body would go into a complete, panic attack, just automatically from what I had experienced. But now within the last 10 years, I've been able to bring that in. And I'm like, okay, I'm more open to communicating. And what drives me nuts, though, Betsy, and I don't know why they do it, and I don't know if you may not have the answer, but I've been sleeping or I'll be taking a nap, and all of a sudden I'll hear hey or hey Heather, and then I'll sit up and I'm not scared or anything. I just open my eyes or I sit up and go, yes, I'm here, I'm listening, but then there's nothing else. Is that them just testing you to see how your body is going to react if you're more if your energy is integrated enough where it doesn't go into a panic so that you can later on maybe receive a stronger message? I'm not sure. I don't know what, I thought I would just put that out there and see what your impression might be.
That would be for me a question that I would do automatic writing on. I would write the question on the top of the page, and I would hold my pen or pencil in my non-dominant hand to receive the answer.
Hmm.
Because so say this again. This is during sleep. When you're sleeping, they'll wake
Mm-hmm.
you up with just your name.
Yeah, I'll just hear hey, or hey Heather. And a lot of times now, because of medication I take at night, I don't necessarily hear that. But if it's like during the day, during a nap or something, it doesn't happen very often. I can count within the last, you know, 5 to 10 years, maybe 3 or 4 times that this has happened. And I'll just wake up and I'm not scared, and I'll be like, oh yes, you
Yeah,
have my attention, I'm listening, you know.
I would absolutely journal that. I would do automatic writing on that one.
But I
If it
can't
were
write
me,
with my left hand though. That's the whole thing.
well,
Is
then you. I told you what I would do. You.
because it's like
You do you. You know it. I know in the 80s when I was in my 20s, um, for about a year and a half, or yeah, about a year and a half, I woke up and the first thing in the morning I heard the name Ralph McPherson, and it just, I mean, I was going crazy with this. And finally, during some kind of a healing session, at the end, the woman said, "Do you have any questions?" I said, "Yeah, who is Ralph McPherson?" And she said, "Well, do you want to meet him? He's a guide." And so it was really simple. Um, but yeah, I didn't understand how to do automatic writing at that time. I was just like a year or two away from being introduced to it.
Alrighty, thank you. And Amanda has been sharing because she has several different clairs. Some people are more in tune. No, you stay right here. Um, most people are in tuned at night. Excuse me, I apologize. He's not behaving. See, okay. Some people are more in tune at night around bed and in sleep. Others may not understand it and don't know that they have to tell their guides to not bother them at specific times, etc. And I'm glad you explained it this way. I have been dealing with my ability since 6, 7 years old. I wasn't ready to accept or embrace it until I was 14 or 15 because, we're told to be quiet, don't tell anybody, or they're going to,
Or the parent says, so and so has a very vivid imagination. Just
ignore them.
yeah.
And Jay says, it's because you're in the twilight zone. They come through easier. Yeah, but if they're going
Not
to wake me up or come
necessarily.
to me, at least finish the sentence.
Yeah, yeah.
More.
I mean, I I think I don't. I think sometimes beings know when they can pop in, and in a fortuitous moment. But for me, my better reception is not in that way because I don't retain it. Like I only have a couple of dream time things that I remember.
Same here. I take medication at night, and it does kind of make it hard to remember dreams, especially when I first wake up in the morning. I have paper and everything right next to me, but the minute I start to awake, it just all dissipates. And so I ask my guides at least a snapshot or an image or feeling that is important that I might need to know from at night. And then in the morning, I'll remember like a little image or something, and I'll keep that in mind. And if I feel really strongly about it, I make sure I write it down. So, but yeah, I have so many dreams at night. It's just, I'm exhausted some nights. I wake up and I'll have almost like a headache because it's like, oh
Yeah.
my God, what the? Oh, you know, come on,
Working
guys.
hard.
Yeah. And
Working
then,
hard.
but then you can't remember it when you wake up. And so it's like, what's the point of going through all those dreams and having all that if you can't even, remember in the morning? But then I've had people
I
tell me it's not, you may not need to know it when you wake up. It's,
You know what I've started doing? Because I'll get stuff at night just before I go to sleep when I'm starting to relax. I'll get some tidbits of
hmm
information, especially if I have a client coming the next day. And instead of panicking and getting up and writing it all down, I just say, you know what? If it's important, they'll tell me in the morning. It's on
there you
you
go.
guys. If
Love
you
it.
want me to remember it, you're just going to have to remind me.
I
Yeah.
love your I love your sense of humor, and I'm sure your guides do too. One of the questions, do you have a specific guide that you um, like? Is there one specific guide that helps you with your mediumship, or is it just kind of like whoever wants to come in for that particular person? Is it like all a group together, or I don't know what you feel comfortable with sharing, because some people like to keep some of that private, but whatever you would like to share.
Yeah, I know. I'm kind of envious of people that have one guide that helps them out that they can rely on. Because for me, it's not that way. Um, I mean, I get animals, I get messages
Mhm.
from earthbound deities, I get messages from angel realm, from all the dimensions, beings that have never held a body. I, a
Mhm.
lot of I really don't put a whole lot of effort into identifying who it is
I was
because
going to ask labels names.
when when I first started channeling, it was really important that there was a name.
Hmm.
This was in the days when Jay-Z Knight was channeling Ramtha, and it was so important, Abraham Hicks and all this stuff. And I was like, okay, we got to have a name. What's the name? And they told me to name me is to limit me.
Me,
So, yeah.
like that. And Christina says, my dreams are so vivid, it can be scary. Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to have dreams like that, but, because of medication I have to take, it cuts that back. But I still remember some very extreme ones from a child. And Gerald says it's about developing a relationship with our process and connecting and trusting it. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree.
And I know
So
a lot of people
I,
want names,
a lot
for
of
their guides
people
and
want
things.
names, and I get it because you want to make sure you're interacting with an entity safely.
Yes, for me,
But
that personal relationship. So that,
but
yeah.
that safety depends on the realms that you have an affinity for. I mean, do you have an affinity for beings in the fourth dimension, the fifth dimension, the second dimension? Where is
Hmm.
your strength? Not everybody throws a javelin well. Not everybody runs a sprint. Some people run long distance. Some people do a shot put. Some people do archery. We have a natural affinity and skill and a natural ability for some things. So I think it's important to honor that. Um, but also, I believe that in knowing yourself and your baseline and having your prayer of protection and
Hmm.
and the
Big
things that
protect.
you do to clear your space, when you are confident in that, then you're inviting in only the beings you choose to communicate with.
So now, when it comes to people, because there's so many Claires, the only one that's easiest for me are eclairs, but I'll digress on that one.
That's a good one.
Um, so I know that we all have the ability for all the Claires, but is it better to just ask your guides to, or do so if you want to at least start working on one of them, or if you want to improve on one of them, or if you want to know which one is the strongest, do you just put that out there with the guides? Do you write it down in a? I mean, what would you like recommend? Because for me, now my sister has the ability. She's been able to see our grandfather. She's been able to see, other things, but she shut that down. She wants nothing to do with it. Me, I want to be able to explore what our mom said that she had and what my sister had. But for me, I'm the opposite. So how do we go about finding really what our strongest clair is, or do we just ask our guides just to help us develop all of them, or is that too much? What would, or just have them give us signs,
I
or
think I think there's no simple answer on that because I don't believe and there's only one correct process. Okay, so I'll
mm-hmm,
clarify that. So I think in coming to understand yourself and your baseline, I think there are tools and exercises you can do to see what works for you in receiving information. Um, looking at pictures of a person, a place, a thing, an animal. Do you
like
get information off
psychometry?
a picture? If
Okay.
you hold an object, psychometry. If you hold an object, can you get the vibe from that?
Mm-hmm.
Do you hear somebody talking directly into your ear, or do you just download a thought and a conversation in your mind? Clairaudience is tricky because we're taught from the beginning, if you're hearing voices, that's bad and you're crazy,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I think that one, clairaudience for me, is one that's tricky to embrace and understand because we're taught that it's not real from such an early age. Clairvoyance to me seems one that is acceptable to people that are even skeptical of psychic abilities because it's all now about envisioning, right? Even
Mm-hmm.
science accepts seeing something in your mind's eye, envisioning it to make it happen, to get inspiration, which
Interesting. Mm-hmm.
I think clairvoyance is awesome, and I try and work on it as much as I can. Um, And then if you just know what you know, people also tell you that's not so good, that you're being opinionated, you're being stubborn because you're
Yeah,
only believing and you're only listening to yourself.
or your
So
ego.
I think there
Mm-hmm.
it we just can benefit from taking time to walk through scenarios in our life and to ask for our spiritual team to give us direct examples of what this means.
Mm-hmm.
If you just know what you know, I'm open to receiving more clair sentience. I know claircognizance. I know there's a couple of terms for it. I'm open to learning more about this ability within me. Please show me some examples. Please help me to understand this.
I was going to say that. Put that out there. Mm-hmm.
Um, how do I walk through this? Through journaling. Man, I got to write it all down.
I'm
Get
good
it
with that.
out of me and get it somewhere else. So the twirl, right? Get the
Mm-hmm.
stop the twirl and to me, writing it down is putting one foot before the other. That really is walking from point A and beginning the journey to my point of my goal point. Um, so I think understanding all of the ways that you receive information or the one way that suits you to receive information, I
Yeah.
think is um, key in building confidence.
Mm-hmm.
And also to tell your guides as you're exploring the clairs what's not comfortable, right? um, Clairvoyance, yeah, that's great. I don't really want to see my grandmother standing at the foot of my bed in the middle of the night. So my team has an understanding that I really don't want full body apparitions or a 7 foot tall praying mantis. I don't want that one beside my bed. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Send me all the messages you want. I'm here. I'm listening, but don't scare me anymore. Because I was terrified when I was a
Yeah.
kid of this stuff. Absolutely terrified.
Mm-hmm.
Nightmares every night. I was afraid of the dark till I was 35. You guys have
I
heard
had
me
a
say
nightlight. Yep.
them.
I never went to bed without a nightlight. I only had one good experience with the spirit, and that was my Aunt Carla a couple of weeks after she passed away, where I woke up, heard my name called, opened my eyes, and there she was standing at the end of my bed. Just, she was radiant. She had died of cancer, and she was just so youthful looking. She was glowing. She was smiling. Just this beautiful swirling white light gown. I mean, it was, and I just was like, Aunt Carla. When I closed my eyes and I opened up, she was gone. And I ran in my parents' bedroom. Mom, Dad, Aunt Carla was here. Go. And my dad was like, have her go back to bed.
Yeah,
Just,
right,
But then
right.
after that, it was the other thing that was in the house. And so I completely, I think, shut down a lot from that. But so just asking your guides what is my, help me develop what my natural gift is, what my natural clair is, and then also adding into that what I do not feel comfortable with. Because if someone doesn't see apparitions or spirit, and then you say, well, help me open my clairs, and then boom, you wake up one night and you start seeing and you're scared, oh, I didn't mean that. So you got
Mm,
to be, like you said, very specific.
yeah. And so if say you open your journal and you sit down, all right, any message you would like to offer me, I'm ready to receive it. And you're sitting there and you're waiting to hear something, and nothing comes, nothing comes, nothing comes. Don't get frustrated.
Mhm.
Just pivot. Go pick up a crystal. Put the crystal in your palm. Do you have any information that you could offer me? I'll take dictation. Anything you would like the world to know, I'll take dictation. Because you're really demonstrating your willingness,
Mhm.
right? You're
Yeah.
demonstrating willingness to participate. Your team loves that. So yeah, just shift around. Um, if one isn't working for you, just try something else.
And Kaylee said, my big issue with clairs is I want the full experience, but then when I get them, I freak out. So yes, you gotta, be specific and let your guides
Yeah.
know exactly what,
So baby steps, right?
and so Mandy, my son is hearing negative voices and he doesn't know how to deal with it. I sometimes hear him telling it to act off. What can I tell him to help him? Do you think this would be for like the second half of the show, or is this something you want to answer now?
Well, that one, okay. So I'm wondering if this is someone who's around, is kind of like early adolescent, like 13-ish. But I think, is this a person who has any interest in learning about grounding and centering to get and to create a boundary, to create a safety bubble? Even in Western medicine, psychologists use the imagery of putting this
Mhm.
bubble around you to keep you safe. 22. Oh, older. Okay, cool. Well, that's good because 22 has a lot more life experience, and so this stuff doesn't come as such a shock. But yeah, I mean, grounding, centering, and clearing your
Protection.
space, say, and developing your statement of boundary making. So
Hmm.
instead of, some people don't want to say, I'm not praying, not beseeching some greater. Okay, so call it
Yeah,
something.
supplication. Yeah, I think that's
Yeah,
supplicating.
call it
Yeah.
something else. Making your declaration of your boundaries and your limits, your personal comfort limits in energy. Um, that would be my advice as far as entertainment purposes only. For the purpose of this discussion, that would be my advice, is to get someone understanding their baseline and learning how to practice psychic hygiene. Because if they're getting intrusive beings, intrusive beings are different from intrusive thoughts. If they're getting
Mhm.
intrusive beings, psychic hygiene,
A
definitely.
must. And Amanda says that is why I told them to start slow with me. Start with learning to crawl, walk, and then run. And that way it helped me to start learning myself and understanding it better. So yeah, baby steps, better than
And
kind of like rush.
and some people are just born gifted and they're comfortable with it, and they can see everything and they hear everything and they know everything, and God love them. I'm so envious of that. It was not my process, and so I'm really envious of people that just wake up knowing who they are. My God, that would be great.
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago, I was in the morning. I like to have my coffee and my poetry, my ambient music on. It's Heather time for me to be able. That's where I'm able to write and stuff. And I was writing this one poem, and all of a sudden, I was out of nowhere the name Tristan, and I'm like, Tristan, what's that? So I'm still writing my poem, and I was just like, no, write it down. I go, well, no, write it down. So okay, I wrote it down, and I'm still waiting to find out who this Tristan is for. Somebody in what chat said I might know one, but for me, so something like that. Would that be kind of like a message, and that's just meant to come out maybe at a different time, or I just need to make sure that I wrote it down so that if someone in chat later on, a month from now or so, comes and says I'm I lost somebody a few months ago. Their name was, let's say Tristan. Would that be kind of like a confirmation, or so when we get hits like that,
I think in that situation you have to let it go and recognize if it's ever meant to be something more than that,
it'll
they
come
will
up?
let you know when, if and when. But the number one thing is they asked you to write down the name Tristan and you complied. So
I
you're
did.
demonstrating again your willingness to participate um with the whole thing. Yeah. Demonstrating your willingness to participate with them. I think that is
And
the key on it. And whether or not Tristan's ever going to be important,
I
who
mean, that's
knows?
not a name that you typically hear, at least not me.
Yeah.
So when that name came out of nowhere, I'm like, guide? Is this somebody else's guide? Is this, and nothing else was coming. I'm like, you guys, you keep doing this to me. You're like, hey,
Yeah.
yes,
Got to
nothing,
let it
Heather,
go. And just trust that it always makes sense in the end, right?
you'll
I
have
mean,
to.
last a year or so ago, I have a shower curtain with a dragon that told me their name was Wiley. And then all of a sudden, one day he changed his name to Theo, and he stuck to it for about 2 weeks. And I mentioned in the chat, I don't know why, but my shower curtain insists that he's changed his name to Theo. And somebody in the chat said, oh, that's my friend that passed that comes through messages for me.
Oh, there
Yeah.
you go.
So I think maybe we should just kind of touch real quick and with
Yeah.
yeah, he thinks he's
So
psychotic. Well,
yeah,
um,
and she says I tell him to listen to meditation music, but yeah, if he's not in the right place, I'm sorry, but he's not in the right place to listen to me yet. So
that's when
it's
you
on
have
him.
that to me
He
is
can't do more
when
than that.
you yes you have to yeah observe with some objectivity and offer them your advice, meditation music, and see a doctor, right?
Always see a doctor just in case. Yes.
Well, yeah, I mean, if somebody is telling you they're psychotic, they believe they're psychotic, then you've got to honor that and
Mm-hmm.
face it. Meditation music maybe is not the most appropriate for that.
Yeah, and one of the problems is nowadays is that even though mental health is becoming more acceptable in circles and people are talking about it more, there's still a stigma to it, and so people are afraid of being judged or being hospitalized or being forced to take something, and so they keep it, they repress it, and then it just so that's why it's always good that our spiritual side is there, but to also make sure that it is okay to seek help. That it's very important to seek help. So I wish your son the best, my dear. And Linda Sandoval did join us as well. Um, let's see, there was somebody else who popped in. Kaylee is popped in to say hello. She's the one about the asking. I want the full experience, and then when I get it, I freak out. And Brenda Tarot popped in. I don't know if you're still here, Brenda, but thank you for popping in and saying hello. Um, so let's see. He's being treated for autism by the GP. So yeah, sometimes see now with this, that makes kind of, because I know that some people who are autistic are much more open to the spirit world and can communicate, have stronger abilities. But then if he's feeling a fear or he feels there is a psychosis, then to me, again, entertainment purposes only, everything that we're talking about, it's really recommended then he go see a doctor and be supported on all, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
on all levels
absolutely.
there. Um, so Jay, it's hard to sense anything without him actually being here to explain. Because yeah, Jay's got several abilities that but yeah, lots of autistic people have gifts, and
Yeah.
it's
Well,
sometimes hard to process them.
I think it's
I
also
get scared.
probably not appropriate. I mean, because that borderlines on third person reading too, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
so
need
we got to
permission.
be careful on that.
Yeah, if I'm gonna poke around psychically, I want permission to do that.
Exactly. So we are at 8:40. Did you want to open the floor for any?
Yeah,
And again, like Betsy and Ina are saying, no third party um, questions. Of course,
yeah,
when it comes to health, you know, I'll let you, because for me, I don't do health questions or legal questions. I can kind of look at an energy, but I, like we were just saying, I don't have permission to tap or read on somebody without their permission, and no politics.
yeah.
Like
Right. So
this is a
yeah.
politics free zone.
So this, if you would like to post a specific question,
Mm-hmm.
no generals. I'm not going to be using cards, and this is just
I
channeled messages. Um, and this is spirit guide kind of stuff.
mm-hmm.
Today, not going to do mediumship for specific loved ones on the other side, but spirit guide communication, but specific question. Um, I tell
Oh,
everybody, if you ask your spirit guides for general reading, you just better be ready to take an hour's worth of dictation, because you got some homework coming ahead of you.
yeah, and that's the whole thing that we were talking about backstage too, is that so many people, just want, and they don't want to do the work, the grunt work. And they have to understand that spirit's willing there to help you and support you, but everything just can't be handed to you. And so, Ange, I already talked about this with Betsy backstage. It's too early, sweetheart. Um, I was sharing your story with her today. Betsy, you said it's good to wait about 3 or 4 months or so
Just
until the.
just to let things settle a little bit. The earthbound people are really emotional, and the people crossing, even the beings that cross like a boss, there's some processing time in
Mhm.
from my experience. And I think having a little bit of time for things to settle down, for the dust to settle, allows the being on the other side to process enough of their stuff,
Mhm.
then to have an awareness of how to send a message that will be helpful and bring you comfort. I think sometimes it's just better to let the dust settle a bit.
And just really quick, Andre, hello from Portugal. Thank you for
Oh,
being
hi.
here. When it comes to questions, we are not doing third party. We're looking more for like a spiritual message, as we much specific. We don't want a general message,
Yeah.
but nothing about third party, which means asking about another person without their permission. We really don't do like health or legal questions. So go ahead and type in your question in caps. It's easier for me to see questions when they're in caps. I see yours, Gerald. And we'll take a look at it and we'll let you know if that's something
Yeah.
that
We're
we
picking
can.
randomly. We're not going to
Yeah,
go in any order. This isn't,
exactly.
it's not, yeah, it's not DoorDash. So,
But I do like this because I've been seeing a lot of dragonflies myself lately, big ones, which usually around here we see the small ones, but like in Walmart parking lots and stuff, I'm seeing big dragonflies. So, how do you feel about this one? Because I'm getting dragonfly a lot too lately.
sure, let's for it.
Okay, I use cards.
So I can give you a little hint of what I'm getting. That I'm getting that the dragonfly was a message from Earth as well as Spirit about doubling down on your belief in the impossible. Because when you see a dragonfly, right, they're one of those beings that can do impossible maneuvers. They can hover, they can fly backwards, they can fly forwards, they can um, there's something about the reflection coming with this too about because dragonflies, have you ever noticed how they seem to love their own reflection, either in water or on a shiny surface? I see them lingering around my car a lot, and they're fascinated with their own reflection. So to me, this is about you really facing yourself and really believing in thing, removing the judgment of the label of impossible for things in your life, to suspending disbelief and removing a judgment that this situation would be impossible to achieve. That's what I got on that one.
And Kaylee said that makes complete sense, especially when and how it appeared.
Mm.
And Kaylee, I got it's an auspicious message for you. It's about luck, it's about blessings. They're sending blessings to you. But also I got boundaries, because I know with dragonflies they can also be about illusions, kind of, like, looking at the reflection, illusions, looking at with their wings, the way they flutter. It's almost kind of like it's like a suspension in between dimensions. And just when you do your work, when you do your healing, especially now that you're doing, the Reiki now, you're going into have that trust. Um, Welcome the blessings that come to you when people come to you for your healings. The boundaries, it says here, negotiations, contracts, and communication. So they are communicating to you, and I think it's about making sure that your boundaries are in place. And these dragonflies also are, I feel like, are an important part of your spirit team, because I have a soul agreement, and it's about your soul plan, a life purpose, your soul mission. And I feel like that they're here with you to guide you. But what's really keeps standing out to me is that because you're doing the Reiki, and see the energy between her hands, I'm feeling like when you're doing your Reiki, you're doing your healing, to make sure that your boundaries, your intentions, everything are all in place. Um, and that's what I have. Sometimes I think I need to say more, and then they're like, it goes like, nope.
Yeah.
It's like
Yep.
nothing there. So
Yeah.
thank you. And she loves that.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're all sending lots of love to Ange.
Yeah.
For her
So sorry for
funeral.
you, for the passing. Yeah.
So Andre did have a question about some loved ones. Now you need names, right?
Well, to me, this
Or
is a really um, rough format to do that, because for me, I cannot make a connection to that. I just
you
cannot,
can?
because
Oh, okay.
I mean, if I can't call out and say, hey, any grandparents up there want to talk? Whose grandparents are they? Yeah.
Yeah. Did you want me to have them put their names specifically into the chat, or do you want to
Um,
just skip on the energy of that one?
Actually, what I am kind of hitting on right now is Gerald's.
Okay. Okay.
Uh,
There we go.
so I'm going to, what I'm getting about this is, sorry, Gerald. It's not a question of increasing creativity. This is a matter of releasing judgment about the word enough. What is enough? That if you're thinking you're not being creative enough, what does enough look like? I think there's which, yeah, it follows our discussion today about creativity. I think they're really pushing hard on me to go this way with it. It's like people that want to see a miracle, but they're um, overlooking the fact that they're driving someplace in bad weather. They're in a hurry. They need to pick up something very important, and a parking space that's the closest it possibly can be appears for them. That's a miracle. And a lot of people discount that kind of stuff. And this is one of those things too. I think what they're telling me is to start a running tally of all the things you create on a given day, which is like, did you make a smoothie that was more delicious today than yesterday's? Did you, I don't know. I think it's like giving yourself credit for all the things that you do well on a day instead of beating yourself up for all the things that you didn't achieve in a day. Giving yourself credit for everything that you did well, that you paid attention to, even a minor task. I think this one is kind of in that same place, is that in your mind, your standard of what being creative enough looks like, and it is, it's seeing things from a really three-dimensional place of judgment about it instead of down in your tailbone. They're showing me the place that resides in you about your value of creativity resides kind of around in your tailbone area, and fill that up. I don't know if I'm explaining this at all. I can only tell you what I'm seeing. Sorry, Gerald. Does that make any sense at all? You can let me know.
Yes. He said, here, first of all, he says, you nailed it. You always get me. And, oops, that was for something else. Yeah. Collect creative moments like Glimmer Globe.
Yeah.
So, and Gerald, I pulled a couple cards. I did get the Chariot. So get out of your way, move forward. You're at the helm of your creativity. It's all spread your wings and just follow where the creativity, the inspiration takes you. And the other card to go with it is the Six of Swords. You're moving across, you're moving to a new, I think it feels like you have some new creative ideas and you are finally listening because both cards are about transportation of moving forward. So taking that, and this is a deck that was based on creativity. So whatever that new ideas that are propelling you forward, you're moving forward with it and go with it. Yeah, my little 2 cents, my little 2 cards. So now to go back, Andre put a different question in, and I don't know if you feel
pop
drawn
it up.
to this.
Let's see.
Yeah. I like that.
You're welcome, Gerald. And I did get your message. I got the thing. Yay!
And I get to hang out with Gerald tomorrow afternoon at 2 p.m. for some silly casual. Ooh. Well, that's interesting. I'm getting a too.
Well, it's a little bit tough because this one it's pretty broad too, because there's no right or wrong on this choice, right? It's it's 6 of one and a half a dozen of the other. If you stay here, you have these issues to deal with. If you move, you have these issues to deal with. So it's swapping situations, and it's swapping situations. So it does, having said that, it feels to me like where you are now is kind of coming to a close about what will benefit you, growth wise, learning, understanding wise. It kind of feels like it's coming to a close, kind of like a contract coming to an end. So it does feel like transitioning to a different space is probably on the horizon. it's interesting because they won't tell me if it's like moving countries or just from one side of town to the other, or if it's a job change specifically. But it does feel like you're winding down with the situations of where you are now, and it does feel like there's a move coming ahead.
Hmm. So, Andre, I'm just going to take your question down because I pulled a couple cards. I got the Emperor, and the Emperor is about a person who has strong leadership skills, who are very solid in their thinking and in the way they rule, not kind of like ruling the roost, and you're grounded and stable in where you are. However, so for this is like a more of a mental kind of like practical. How can I best serve myself and others? And so when I asked for a clarifier for that, I got the Page of Cups. So you're feeling intuitively pulled to move somewhere. You want something new that's creative, that that brings you inspiration, that brings you joy. The next card I got, the Eight of Wands, and the Eight of Wands is all about movement, things moving forward. So yes, I agree with Betsy. There is some sort of move coming up. Things are moving along, and at the bottom of the deck, which is like the overall energy, this I got the Ace of Swords. So this is really starting to come clear. It was an idea, and you're starting to flesh it out. You're like I said in the beginning with the Emperor. I know you're kind of like practical. You're kind of like set in there, and you're like, oh, do I not? You're thinking about it. I think maybe a little too much because you're also feeling the pull. You're feeling that intuitive, like there's something else out there. There's something else creatively that I can do different with my life. Creation isn't always about creating art. It's about creating change in our lives. How creative can we get? A new job, a new what's my passion? Is it a job that you're looking for? Is it just a change of scenery? But this has been going around in your mind for a while, and so it's kind of like just really sitting with yourself, sitting in those emotions, listening to, like we were talking about, listening to your gut. What does your gut tell you? And like Betsy, I see things moving forward. So glad we were able to answer one of your questions for you. Thank you, Betsy.
Yeah, it feels a whole lot more like moving into the next phase of learning for yourself, more so than it's tied to a specific location or a specific job. It just feels like you're transitioning from, I've been working on this soul lesson for a while, and it's now time to work on this soul lesson for a while. It just feels like that kind of a thing to me.
Okay, and Betsy, we have one question left over, and now this is kind of like a third party. Lexi, thank you for joining us. We kind of watch how we do third party, but it says here, I need advice from spirit. End of month things change with a man. Will my household be safe? Again, that's kind of, I mean, I can pull cards. Um, I can give you an energy. I can pull cards on the energy around you and the situation, but I think that's pretty much what I would be able to do. And you're welcome, Andre. Thank you
Yeah, you're welcome.
for joining us. And you're welcome too, Mandy. She's thanked us for the guidance for her son, so you're welcome.
This one, my answer would be, what is within my power to do for my safety?
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because I got the Nine of Wands just came flying out. So the Nine of Wands is you're exhausted, you're mentally tired, you've been holding yourself up. Um, you feel battered, you feel bruised. And I'm not saying this physically, um, but that's could be what it represents. But this is represents just that energy of being tired, of being, you feel like being like dragged around. You're tired of waiting. You're ready to move forward. You still got grit, girl. And the Five of Wands is typically a group of people with wands fighting each other, battling each other. But in this deck, I love this because even though there is conflict, girl, you hold the wand right here. You are in control of your destiny, of this situation. So the power is in your hands, to take control of the situation. And again, doing what Betsy said, whatever it is to keep you safe, and calling on your guides, um, calling on your higher power. Um, mm,
I got to pass on this because the fact that she's talking about safety and,
mhm,
and this to me is, I think I just I don't feel like it's an appropriate place for me to be.
okay.
She's talking about personal safety, and I
Hmm.
certainly don't want to say anything that's going to make you either more concerned for your safety or for you to think, oh, well, it's going to be fine because she said so. Uh, I
Mm,
think, yeah, I think there is important things to be done
mhm.
in a couple of different avenues for that to
To me,
ensure.
that was the five of, the five of wands. She has to take control. Is that wand in her hand, and she's got to do what she needs to take care of herself. Because we got to be careful too, Lexi. This is for entertainment purposes only. So again, a lot of this is what you're going to have to do, for yourself, in your situation. But she says she does understand, and
Yeah,
we appreciate that you do. And she says, true, she's been answering us, so she does appreciate us, taking the time. So you're so much welcome. And Dina had a quick question for you. I know we're about at an hour. How long should a person wait to contact a person who's passed? And we were talking a little bit about this backstage.
for me, just on my experience working in the public arena as a medium, for me, I prefer it to be 6 months or longer. That's
Okay.
just to have time for the dust to settle.
I'm sorry.
Because, yeah, I think, as I said, when it's so brand new, people are the people on Earth are feeling a lot of emotion and hoping to receive some kind of a closure. But I think there's just, even if a guide came through with the best possible information on the planet, in the moment, that moment of sorrow, you need to have that moment of sorrow. You need to be there for a bit.
Yeah. um She said, I lost a dear friend about a month ago, but don't know how or when he passed.
Yeah,
Um, so it's, yeah. I'm so sorry, Dina.
yeah, so sorry.
A lot of us are, now we are at 9:02. There was just one more question. I didn't know if you feel drawn to it. And then this will be the last one, so we can let Betsy go. Um, I appreciate Betsy taking her time out in the middle of the day. She's in Maui, so she is 6 hours behind. So it's in the middle of her day. So we want to make sure that and that breeze must be just beautiful. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah, it's really blowing. It's been a really cool summer. It's been mild, very temperate. Yeah, but yeah, the wind has been pretty strong this year. Um, to me, this one isn't really anything that I really is my spirit leading me towards a new spiritual path. Well, yeah, but you need to define where it is you choose to go. What do you want? What makes you happy? What serves you? And I think defining those things is the beginning of the journey, because I kind of feel like we're always growing, we're always evolving, always changing.
Mm-hmm.
If we're doing the spiritual work, we're always moving into a new place. We're always on the go. Um, so I say, if you knowing where you want to go is probably the very best advice I could offer you.
Hmm. So Christina, I just pulled a couple cards from my Starseed deck, which is for me, quite a bit of was connected with spirit guide energy. Um, I think there's some things that you need to work through. I got I'm sorry. Writing past wrongs, and there's some uprooting. So I'm feeling like right now they want you to focus more on taking care of things within your personal life. The uprooting, because we really can't progress too much on our spiritual path if we're uprooted, like this is in the beginning. If we're not grounded, if we're not centered, it feels like there's some shadow work that needs to be done. There's some healing.
I've been waiting to hear you say the word.
Oh, you
Yeah.
don't like the word shadow work?
No, no, I love it. For
Oh,
this
okay.
when you pop that card up, uprooting, I'm like, oh, it's shadow work time. Hooray!
Yep. So it says defenselessness. So it feels like there are a lot of things that are kind of coming at you that needs to be dealt with first. And before you can move on and really start working with the spiritual path, you have to ask your spirit guides to help you through this. The next card that I got for you at the bottom was the Great Severing. So there's a lot of anger and conflict going on right now. Mars energy, it says here in the card, but the Mars is usually about aggression, conflict, anger, kind of warlike, mentality. But it says also softening to love. So right now, whatever it is that you are going through, this uprooting, this trauma work that you have to do, once you're able, because we can't really evolve spiritually until we start really taking care of some of the heavier, excuse my language, the heavier shit that goes on. I mean, we're always going to have conflict and stuff that's going to come up from our past and traumas, but really getting, really, it says here, uprooting, you need to get rooted. You need to deal with these emotions, these angers, whether it's within yourself from something in the past, or if someone did something to you, or this could just be you having to, like, listen, I we all make mistakes. I made mine, but it's all right. It's time for me to move forward. But there's just a lot of anger. But to really move forward, they said you got to really soften up. So self love, self care, self trust, self assurance. Ask your guides, come in and around me and help me to deal with this pain that I have to work through,
Yeah.
this trauma that I have to work through. And that's what I have for you. And she says, "Thank you so much, Betsy." Um, and Tom is here. Early ritual,
Yeah, I
the
saw
like
that just in
again
time.
later ritual. We've been teasing him and calling him, "Hey, you should change your name to later ritual or late ritual." So, but it's good to see you, Tom. And you're welcome, Christina. So, yeah, it looks like you got some stuff to work through, girl. And once you do, and you start processing through that, um, you'll feel it. I'm getting the feeling, and I'm going to trust this, that you're going to feel that shift. There's going to be like one of these, is just going to be that moment where things feel a little bit lighter, or you do feel that softening in yourself, in your body, in how you wake up to the world, if that makes sense. So those are kind of the words and thoughts that I was getting. So um, now, what kind of clair would that be? Would that be kind of like is that clair cognizant when you start getting kind of like phrases and words in your mind to go with cards? Would that be that kind of clair, or what would that be? Or just intuition and nothing with clairs
So,
at all?
did you hear that in your mind, or
They were just like words coming, okay, just popping into my head.
well, to me that is it's kind of like in the border between clairaudience and claircognizance, because which is it's a little tricky because
Mm-hmm.
the guides laugh at me when I was trying to
Yeah.
develop a very clear way to define all this stuff, and they were laughing at me because they're like, it's all telepathy. You people make it so much harder than it needs to be.
Yeah. So, gotcha. So, alrighty. And Ange, again, our love, our sympathy, our condolences to you, my dear.
Condolences to you.
Take
Yes.
good care of yourself, my dear. And hello, Garnet. Thank you for. He always does this for me. Heather blooming among the wild mountain thyme. So thank you, Garnet. And Dina says, this was awesome. Thank you so much, Heather and Betsy, for sharing your gifts. You're welcome. And Betsy, thank you again. Um, yeah, you've always given me amazing readings. You've always been straightforward and upfront with me. And that's one of the things I love about your reading is that you don't sugarcoat, and you come right out and say boundaries. Because sometimes a lot of us readers, I think, in my opinion, need to create more boundaries with our readings and with our chats and stuff, so that reciprocity remains spiritual, if that makes sense, is balanced, that there's a respect there. And I just love times how you say it like it is. I mean, when you dropped that F-bomb that one time on Gerald's channel with me, fucking brilliant. I was like, what? I'm like, I like her. So,
I'm an ex-race tracker. It's always there on the tip of my tongue. I could make a sailor blush.
so I'm sorry, anybody, if I offended any. Most of it's after 9 o'clock. Most of my chat people know me. So, but yeah, Betsy's awesome, and thank you so much again. I will make sure that her link to her book, Audible book, is in the description box this evening, or first thing tomorrow morning. I'll try to make sure it's this evening. And you have anything else? Any other guest spots coming up, or anything you would like to share before we?
I think next week, Terry and I are on Gerald's channel. Terry, I have it in my book on my
Terry
calendar.
Renner?
Yeah, that I'm
Okay.
doing something
Those
with Terry, but I don't remember what it is. Let me see. Maybe I left myself a note. Wouldn't that be brilliant?
You're welcome, Lexi. She says, hey,
It doesn't look like I left myself a note about why. Oh dear. Oh well. I
Sounds
just
like me.
that woman. Oh my goodness.
All right.
Yeah.
So thank you again, Betsy.
Yeah. Thank you everyone that was here with us. Thank you so much.
And we will. And tonight, later on at 11 o'clock, head over to Moon Scarab. I'll be doing a insomnia tarot show with Ramon, and Sherry H is going to be joining us too tonight. So um, he goes, yes, I have something with the two of you.
Thanks,
All
Gerald.
Right. Yep. So everybody have a great rest of your night, your day, and thank you again for joining us.
Yeah. Aloha.
Bye bye, everybody.